Welcome to another exciting and elucidating episode of the OmniTalk Ask an Expert series. I'm your host, Chris Walton.
And I'm Ann Mazinga.
And we are the co-founders of OmniTalk, the fast-growing retail media outlet that's all about the companies, the people, and the technologies that are coming together to shape the future of retail. And before we get started, I have a question for you today. I have to ask you, in all your travels this year, which, by the way, for those watching, have been quite extensive.
Absolutely.
What is the one area in which everyone to whom you and I have spoken this year says that generative AI will undoubtedly have an impact? I'm curious what you think on that question.
There's two that
And
come
I'm
to
leading the
mind.
witness.
Yes, but I think that the one that you might be thinking about is customer service.
Ding, ding, ding. You got it right, Ann. That is 100%
What do
correct.
I win? What do I win?
You win my eternal esteem, and
right.
eternal esteem with good alliteration too. So yes, leading the witness. For those of you that registered to attend, you know why we think it's customer service and what we plan to talk about today. So please join Ann and me in welcoming Talkdesk's Director of Retail Product Marketing, Michael Klein, to today's conversation. Michael, it is great to have you here and great to speak with Talkdesk again.
Oh, great to see you both, Chris and Ann. Thanks again for having me.
Yeah. Now, before we dive into the conversation, Michael, which we are thrilled to have you on for, I just want to send a quick reminder to those of you who are joining us live on LinkedIn right now. Michael and the Talkdesk team will be available to answer your questions live in the chat, just to the right of your screen. So at any point during the conversation, please feel free to put your questions in there for Michael. And let's get this kicked off, Michael. Before we dive into the applications for AI in customer service, let's have you start by telling the audience a little bit about you and your background, and then ending with your current role at Talkdesk.
Yeah, well, I'm a lifelong retailer. I started on the shop floor in New York City for some of the specialty food brands there, Dean and DeLuca, Balducci's. And have been fortunate to work for some other great brands like Williams-Sonoma, Louis Vuitton Group, Discovery Channel. Came over to the world of tech in 2008 for a small tech company, and a couple of acquisitions later, and I spent 14 years at Adobe heading up their marketing to the retail industry. I've been also on my own for a little while consulting, and 2 months ago, I joined Talkdesk to head up retail product marketing, where I'm responsible for the messaging, the thought leadership, how we communicate to the industry. And what really excited me about joining Talkdesk is that not only are we marketing to the industry, but we are building products and solutions specific to the retail industry. So I have peers and colleagues in the product teams that all they do all day long are build solutions and technology for retail.
Yeah, when it comes to customer service, you got to understand the retail side of how things work too. So you cut your teeth in grocery in New York City, you said? Like that's how you cut your teeth, on the shop floor doing grocery type work. Is that right?
Yeah, well, I think Andy Balducci and Giorgio DeLuca might be rolling over in their graves.
Yeah, if I called them a grocery store. Yeah,
specialty food.
Specialty food, right? Yes.
Yeah. So it was gourmet food, and I was slinging caviar and prosciutto di Parma ham and slicing smoked salmon.
You were slicing? That's fantastic.
Well, that's how I started. Yeah. And then moved into merchandising and was responsible for both the direct-to-consumer catalog, because that was the genesis of e-commerce, was direct-to-consumer catalogs. So we had a very big catalog business, both at Dean and DeLuca and Balducci. So I was part of that, which took me to the likes of a Williams-Sonoma and a Harry and David. So yeah, I'm food is in my blood and is in my passion. So yeah, we'll have to go to dinner sometime.
Yeah, for sure. I need you to slice me some salmon. That sounds amazing.
It doesn't help that this is right before lunch, Michael,
I know, right, Ann? Yeah.
Yes.
I know, right?
Yeah.
But the other part,
when I we used to have the Upper East Side women come in to get their quarter pound of Nova or lox or whatever it was. And, you know, I tell them that I'm going to slice the salmon so thin you could read the New York Times through it.
That sounds amazing. Oh my God, everyone watching this because it's over lunch too is going to be like, oh my gosh, I want some of that right now. But the other part about that that's interesting, which is why I want to bring it up specifically too, is your background is steeped in kind of catalog or direct to consumer businesses, which have an interesting angle on the customer service side to them in terms of, you know, how you need to speak to your customer, how you need to help them. You know, how has that experience served you as you've gone forward?
Oh, it's been great to be, you know, I'm not a big fan of the term omnichannel, but
Oh my God. Oh, we'll save that fight for another day, Michael, but go ahead,
right.
keep going.
Yeah, I mean, you can call it whatever you want. Unified, omni, hybrid, all the buzzwords we've been hearing about what it means to have a cross-channel journey and consumers being in a variety of channels. But yeah, it's served me really well to really understand the nuances and the similarities that occur, whether it's in person, through the mail, or through the internet, of how consumers shop and how retailers and merchants need to present products and experiences to really be relevant and, of course, personalized to their customer base.
Okay. Well, let's get into some of the challenges that are out there. So I'm curious, like let's start out with this. So what are some of the challenges retailers are currently facing when it comes to making their customer services experiences? That's hard to say. Customer services experiences more interactive and also immersive in this new digital age. What are some of the challenges that are out there?
The challenges are very consistent with the challenges that we see in other parts of the business.
Mm,
And that, first and foremost, is data and content. And
mm,
that in any brand
mm.
retailer, especially legacy brands that have been around for many, many years, the systems of record are very siloed. And well, they're certainly doing a better job of bringing that together, whether it be tools like customer data platforms, content management systems. But if you think about the contact center and the pane of glass that somebody in the contact center may be leveraging, they've been very siloed off from some of these other systems of record, whether it be the CRM, the knowledge bases, the contact center, the service tickets. So I think first and foremost, that is the challenge for retailers, is bringing together all of those different disparate sources of content and data
Mhm.
to help both the consumer as well as the agent or the AI that would be leveraging that information to deliver a better experience through the contact center.
Michael, that's really interesting. I've never heard anyone talk about that before. And particular, so you know, we've heard the part about the data. Like the data comes up a lot in terms of making sure that data is accessible and available and easily usable. But the content side of what you brought up is really new for, I think, for both of us. And when you say too, like the content
Mhm.
side of
Yeah.
customer service and thinking about how the systems need to flow around that. Can you talk a little bit more about that in terms of like what type of content is required or facilitates a good customer service interaction?
So if we can get past the idea that contact center is a cost center and
Hmm.
the acronym of WSMO, of where's my order, right? And that is, which is very structured data, order management system type information, and really move to the next generation of contact center where it's much more engaging. It can be a revenue center as much as a cost center to be able to really increase loyalty, customer lifetime value. It's being able to have access to the content that sits in a knowledge base. That could be product information management, that could be offers that are available to that agent to be able to increase basket size or offer additional products or services that are not in the structured data transactionally. So those are the type of content, the type of contents that a contact center agent or the AI needs access to is what is the details around a product, what how do I use something, if it's a DIY and or it's a highly technical product and they need support and help, how do you bring that type of content and information into the equation as well, and not just I have a pair of shoes in size 11 and a half, and how do I return them? Or
Yeah.
I placed an order last week and I'm still waiting. Where's my order? So those are the key elements of content is typically around the catalog, product, and the knowledge base.
Michael, I think what you're saying is so important for us to be talking about and thinking about, and for the retail and brand audience to be listening to, especially just last week on our podcast, we were talking about Amazon rolling out Rufus and other retailers rolling out generative AI assistants for search. And I think that it's going to train the customer to be wanting to ask these questions that require a deeper content knowledge base, or that really like can empower that service agent to provide the same information for me without being prompted that they're getting from generative AI assistants in other places. Would you agree with that? Or are you seeing kind of a switch or shift to that sort of requirement for retailers?
Oh, without a doubt. And if you think about the other element of speed and convenience, and consumers are stressed for time, we need to be able to do this, and we need to serve this information up very, very quickly.
Mhm.
Because, as we all know as consumers, how frustrating is it when there's either airtime or somebody puts you on hold to go
Right.
do something else, and you're like, when are you coming back to me, right? So being able to leverage AI, generative AI, to really search through and scour through and have the most relevant information come back to that call center agent, that contact center agent, is critical for customer satisfaction.
Yes.
Because back in the day, if you walked into a contact center, there typically was a very large binder of information, or
Right.
even the catalogs that would sit next to that contact center agent, and they'd be
Yeah.
flipping through pages of either training
Product details.
information,
Yeah.
product information, or even the same catalog that the consumer had
Oh, yeah.
to be able to respond to and answer questions. So uh, we have a tool, and we're not the only ones using the term, but Talkdesk Copilot for Retail is doing that exactly for the customer service agent, for the contact center agent, where we are able to understand in context through Gen AI what is happening in the conversation and serve up to that agent the most relevant information based on what's happening in the moment.
Totally. Yeah. And I think the other thing too is like, if I'm on Amazon and Rufus knows that I purchased something and that the product that I'm now looking at will be a great accompaniment to this product that I'm returning, or any sort of situation, I certainly would expect that my customer service agent would be able to do a similar, if not better thing. But Chris, I know you have a thought too that I want to make sure we get in.
No, I think that's a great point, Ann. I mean, the other thing I think it brings up too, which Michael, I'd love to get your thoughts on too, is even if you put AI aside, right? This world that you're envisioning, where kind of this customer service center pivots from a cost center, it also requires a new like software-based UX for the customer service agent to do his or her job, as well as for the interaction to happen in the right way with the consumer when they're on that conversation with the customer service agent too. Can you talk about that?
So what's underneath the hood, and it goes back to the original conversation we were having around the challenges, is being able to really bring together that the CRM information, the product information, and that knowledge information. So we work very closely with Serta Simmons, which is also the parent of Tufton Needle.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Back around 5 years ago, maybe almost six, when Serta acquired Tuft & Needle, they then realized they were going into the direct-to-consumer business.
Right.
So they realized they had to really make a rapid change in terms of how they handled contact center and customer service. And we've been working with them ever since. And we have given them the capability through a single pane of glass to bring together their information in Salesforce for CRM, the information from Confluence, which is their knowledge center, and also ServiceNow, which is where they have their tickets. That's where they create their tickets. So the ability to have that agent have at their fingertips and not have to go from one system to another because of these integrations that we offer our clients is hugely powerful, impactful, and also makes the life of that agent much better. We know that we're challenged in retail with retaining talent and associates, whether it be on the shop floor or in a contact center. So making those people, their life better is good for everybody. And it also allows them, whether it's they're handling a call that is with a human or leveraging the AI to deflect the calls like where's my order that maybe not doesn't even need the human, allows that human contact center agent to deliver higher value to the organization. And that could be in the form of either upselling or styling or helping outfit their living room, whatever it may be. So yeah, the underpinning of the technology is going to be hugely important. Of course, technology can only get us so far, and people and process also always have to be part of the process and how the organization evolves to understand the benefits here.
Yeah, Michael, I think it's important too, as you're highlighting some of these benefits that your partners like Serta Simmons are seeing, for you to take a moment now to kind of explain for the audience, like who are the best in class retailers, if you can name them, or what are some case studies or examples of retailers and brands who've overcome some of these challenges?
I mentioned the Serta Simmons. We've also been working with On Running across the globe because they're a European company and they're also here. They're opening up retail stores in various locations across the globe. We work with them in Latin America as well as in Japan. So those are some of the case studies. Hunter Douglas, we're also in consumer goods as well. So Hunter Douglas is doing some really good work with us with what could be a much more technical product as well. When you think about that, and they're always trying to get closer to their customer because a lot of their products are not sold direct to consumer. But they do offer the capabilities for a consumer to get in touch with them. So being able to have a high touch with those customers is great. Ashley Furniture, there's some great. And the other one, which currently is not working with us, that I speak to quite a bit within the industry, is IKEA. So what IKEA is doing is they're reskilling, and this is public information. I think, I forget where I saw it, if it was on Forbes, Retail Dive, all the different newsletters we get, but IKEA is taking considerable effort to reskill their contact center agents to not just to no longer handle the mundane, but really become that authority and that stylist, so to speak. And they've seen some great results for themselves in being able to reskill those contact center agents. So those are some of the brands that I'm looking towards in terms of our own customers, as well as externally others that are doing some great jobs in contact center.
Yeah, that IKEA example is great. I mean, we spoke to Ulrika Bessart, their head of HR, about that at World Retail Congress. She talked about that extensively. And the other thing I'm excited about in those examples you shared too, I'm excited about the Hunter Douglas example too, because I might take the Pepsi challenge with you guys on that one, because I've got some issues with my Hunter Douglas window shades that I need to get fixed. And I've been putting it off, but so now it gives me some impetus or some initiative to go and get that fixed and to report back on how that experience is. So I'm excited about that, Michael. All right, so the other thing that we want to talk about today is, as we look forward, we've talked a lot about the current state of customer service in retail, but as we look forward, what trends do you foresee continuing to shape the evolution of customer service? Is it all about AI, or is there more to it?
Yeah, I had some pretty interesting poke the bear conversations. As I mentioned when we were opening up beforehand, that I just spent a few days in SoCal at the NRF Nexus event, and I was poking the bear because everybody thinks that AI is going to be everything, and you're never going to talk to a human again. And I don't believe that at all whatsoever. I think there's always going to be consumers out there that want that interaction with a human.
Mhm.
It always reminds me of back in 2012, 2013, when Mark Andreessen said that the retail store was going to be a dinosaur and there'd be
Right.
no more stores. And I'm like, you're kidding yourself. Folks always, and myself growing up in New York, always loved going in and out of stores and shopping Madison Avenue, Fifth Avenue, whatever it is. And, that's an experience. That's sometimes, that's some people's, that's their hobby or their retail therapy, right? Is
Mhm.
going into the physical. So I think that it's no different in this idea of contact center where, yes, we will see increasing numbers of how AI can handle certain queries, certain requests of customer service. And even more and more as we leverage Gen AI and don't need everything to be so specifically structured, but we're going to always need to be in a hybrid world. And we're going to need to be able to understand the cues and the sentiments and the triggers of a consumer to either keep them in that world of AI or be able to quickly get them over to that human to be able to really drive customer satisfaction. Because while we will see, again, the percentages grow for how AI is handling customer service requests, uh, I think that being able to really read those cues, those triggers, and get them through a much more personalized journey is going to be where we see the future. And we are working on that. We just launched Talkdesk Navigator, which
Mm.
just recently in the past 2 months, and that's doing that exactly. It's what we call the death of the IVR, the dreaded IVR of push one, push two, nine, wait, where using natural language and voice, we can get a consumer to the exact cue that they need to get to.
Yeah. Well, Michael, with that in mind, then, what advice would you have to retailers who are really trying to take the first step here to future proof their customer service strategy?
Well, the first thing that I would like to see, and this starts with the C-suite, the CFO,
Hmm.
uh, operations, to get out of this mindset that contact center is a cost center and it's an expense line, but it's not contributing to the bottom line. So I think that we need to start to see that mind shift that good customer service and good contact center can not only help drive efficiencies, but can also bring more money to the bottom line, as well as
Hmm.
top of the funnel with increased retention, loyalty, keeping top of mind for others. And then going back to where we started again, uh, in terms of the very practical, is really getting the data, the content, the order management commerce. We have out of the box integrations with Shopify, with BigCommerce. We're also integrated with other commerce engines through our open API gateway, so we can bring in and communicate bi-directionally with any of the commerce engines. So not unlike what we see for personalization and bringing all these points of data and content together, I think that for contact center, that's also critical for success is being able to bring this together and then allow the agent to work through a single pane of glass.
Yeah.
Michael, I'm curious too. And I admittedly, I don't know the answer to this. I'm remiss in not knowing the answers to this question, so I'm going to plead my ignorance here. But in your experience, do Do retailers track the revenue coming out of their customer service centers? Is that even tracked? I've never seen
Great
it
question.
in my travails, but I'm curious. Like, is it just something that just never came across my desk? Is it a conversation I never had, or is it just not happening?
It's not happening, and
Wow.
we're trying to guide this ship in terms of CX, and the other mission that we have is not only death of the IVR, but ridding the world of bad customer experiences. So, uh, with our integrations with commerce, and it's still early days where
Mm,
we can have access to the transactional data in terms of the shopping basket. We see item level and the orders, but we're not necessarily seeing the full picture of the transactional numbers. So we are starting to work a little bit closer with those commerce engines to be able to understand and report benchmarking on the uplift of AOV, basket size, etc. But you're right. It's been very traditional, average hold time, first call deflection, first call
Right.
resolution,
right.
the standard metrics of efficiency that are going through. And there are some outliers. There are a few that are out there that are starting to look at how a contact center agent, and we have some of these insights within our own dashboards, are converting and doing a better job of getting folks either to hold on to product or get into new product.
Well, that's a great nugget to end on, really, because honestly, at the end of the day, you don't change culture unless you start to measure things like you just described. And so I think what I hear you saying, which I would 100% agree with, like if you're the CEO or the CFO of a retail organization, you should be asking your or challenging your customer service organization to deliver reports on that metric and giving them the tools and the resources they need to be successful to deliver against those metrics as well. So
Mhm.
fascinating conclusion to this discussion, something I had never thought about. And I see you shaking your head too. I know you never had thought about that either. And
Yeah.
so Michael, so thanks for being with us. It was a great conversation. Any closing thoughts here before we let you go?
Yeah, I think just to kind of riff on that a little bit more is we need to think about the contact center agent no different than we think about the store associate
Yeah,
and how they engage with consumers.
right.
And whether you're in luxury and you call them stylists, or
Right.
you're in
Yep.
Abercrombie and Fitch and you call them brand ambassadors, they're quite often the contact to your consumer and the representative of the brand. So, you really need to make sure that they're given the tools and the opportunities to do the right thing for the brand, as well as, of course, for the customer.
And like you said earlier, like allocating that, like it's not just a line item on the expense sheet. It's really like how are we empowering them and investing resources in this as a way to generate more revenue for the company. That's yeah.
Yeah, it's a great point. It's a great point. Like, there's no difference between them and a Salesforce associate. The only difference is where they are located. Like, they're in the store versus on the phone, or behind a messaging chat functionality or something like that. That's the only difference. So, wow, that was cool. Very cool point to end on. So, thanks for sharing that, Michael. If people want to get in touch with you, pick your brain, learn more about Talkdesk, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, so my very simple michael.klein@talkdesk.com. I'm also available on LinkedIn. I'm also part of the NRF Digital Council, so I know some of my friends out there, as both of you, part of the Rethink Retail group. So yeah, you can find me on the interweb somewhere out there. And I think if you have interest in more information around Talkdesk and our retail experience cloud, we'll share some more information in the chat for everyone to find out what we're doing.
All right. Well, again,
Excellent.
Michael Klein, from Talkdesk. Thank you for joining us. Thank you to everyone that joined us live for this webinar. Thanks to everyone that is potentially listening in later on to the podcast recording or the video recording as well. And on behalf of Anne and myself, as always, be careful out there.